Welcome to Baker Makes It. My name is Zach Baker, and in this video, we're going to be transforming this camper from this to this. We're getting to a really important step in this process, and I'm really excited because it is finally time to spray foam insulate the inside of this 1971 Holiday Rambler. I started kind of prepping for that and have gone through a process of evaluating if this is something I wanted to DIY or I wanted to pay someone to do. And everything I've read says that it's very hard to do a closed cell spray foam well your first time. And when you do it, typically you use a lot more than what the manufacturer says is in a container. So I started pricing out if I buy more than I think I need versus I pay someone. And the difference was not that huge. This is absolutely an investment. This is one of the more expensive parts of this project. So I've decided to have a spray foam contractor come and foam the inside of this. Now that is going to cost around $1,700, which is more than I wanted to spend. I was hoping for more in the $1,200 range, but this is going to add strength. It's going to really make it easy to heat and cool, and it also should make it quieter in here. So in order to do that, we have a lot of prep to do. Behind me, you can see some wires hanging around. I started looking at what wires I needed to get in before the foam. In my head, it wasn't that much, but then as I started actually doing it, I realized it was quite a lot. In addition to the wires, we've got a few more framing things to do. Up on these aluminum roof rafters, there's a little wooden strip in there that I decided to just put all new in. And so I went through and I ripped all the old ones out, some of which were moldy, and I just put all fresh in. I also made sure to go through and check every spot to make sure wherever plywood was going to go, I had something to screw it to. The one spot that I had not done anything with were the curves, the front and back curves. And so in order to do that, we had to take a bunch of strips of 3/16 plywood. I made a jig using cardboard, or a template using cardboard rather, turned that into a jig, and then I glued with a roller multiple strips of the 3/16 material, and I clamped it to that jig to create the curve I needed. What that did was it gave me a surface that's curved and very strong to screw the plywood to. Originally on these things, they were screwed from the outside. That's not an option here because we're not taking the sheet metal off, so we had to do it a little different. And then the biggest thing, which I just mentioned, but I'll show you guys a little more here of, is the wiring. So by the door here, we've got this big, beautiful bundle of wires. Some of these are going up to the porch light and then back down to our outside grab handle light. And then others are going up to recess lights. And what I've done is I've just used pieces of duct tape to suspend some wire in all the different locations. And you can see there's quite a few. All throughout here in the kitchen area. And then finally, I've got one that comes up and over to a dinette light. If you've done household construction, you may recognize this. This is a box that would be used in a house. However, what we're gonna do is buy household lighting and put 12 volt DC bulbs in it instead of the 120 volt AC that would normally run. So just kind of modified the inlet here and used loom to protect the wires. You may have noticed too, I have grounds on all of these that go all the way back to my starting point. And that's so that I can do grounds in a place where I will have access to them and be able to see them. So if I ever have a grounding issue, I can check my grounds. I've got some extra wires here that just kind of go up and out. And the reason for that is the back of the bench, the dinette bench, will be here. And so some of these connections are going to be made inside that bench, and there'll be most likely a dedicated fuse block for just these circuits, which we'll do in a couple other spots. The next zone as we move forward is our bathroom. And so in the bathroom, we've got lights down here for under cabinet lighting. We've got a vanity light. This is the same as the dinette light, just with a thin box. And I modified this to mount here, so super duper strong. Do a household light fixture there. We're doing one recessed light over the shower. And then all of these come back over here to a bundle of wires that will be mounted in the wall here. This also will probably have its own dedicated fuse box so that we can very easily figure out if there's an issue with any of these. Next up, we've got our solar wiring here. All I did was put an aluminum cup there just so the foam does not completely encapsulate that. If I ever need to take it out, I can. Coming back to the bedroom, we're gonna have a headboard here with switches on the side. Those switches are going to be for a sconce mounted here. It'll be kind of like a nightstand light, if you will. And then above the bed, we're going to have 1, 2 recessed lights. And then also mixed into this wiring is the fan wiring that comes down. And so I use consistent colors for the fans. So all the yellows are fans. And then I've also got this other fan here coming out there as well. So this will all be under a bench and can mount there. Additionally, we've got the AC spot here. We've got 12 gauge household wiring for 120 volt AC all the way down into the bench. Same thing, all the connections will be made down in there. Over here in the kitchen, this one's a little simpler. We've got the fan wiring coming down, and then I'm gonna have some lights underneath a wall cabinet, and they come down and will mount inside the cabinet. And then finally, on these marker lights, on some of these, I just ran wires where I knew they were going to be buried in foam. This is very deep here, and so even with the amount of foam that's going in here, I'll be able to access those. But here, the foam's nearly going to fill in this cavity, and so I ran this out to where I'd be able to get to it. Same thing over there, and same thing at the back. Now at the back, there's a little bit more complexity because I knew I wanted to make my connections on the bottom. So I ran it into this one, and then I ran it all the way down. I should be able to make connections to that later because it'll be under the bed, but this one won't be. So, well, it will be, but I wanted to keep it in the wall. So that's gonna have its own connection that comes all the way up. This will just be sitting out here. This tape keeps falling off. But then we'll wire all these later. A couple other notes. You may have noticed I don't have these cavities open for spray foam, but instead I put rigid foam in. That is because this is one of the most rotted spots on this camper when I demoed it. And there's also the taillight wiring is in here. And so by leaving this as foam, if I ever need to investigate or replace things, I can have a little bit better of a view of what's going on in there. We've got some tape over the access door. I don't want that foamed. I am going to foam this door. I'm not going to be using this for anything. I kind of went all out making it functional, and I just decided I don't have a use for it. So that's going to get foamed. And with that, I gave everything a good cleaning, a good vacuuming. We've got our diesel heater ready to go, and now we're just waiting on the contractor. Hopefully when they get here, they'll let me video a little bit of that process. I haven't talked to them about that yet, but in any case, I will show you guys the finished product here shortly. It's a big day today. The spray foam is finally going in. We've got these guys here with their rig, and they just started spraying the closed cell inside. It is a little cold today. It was 22 this morning, but we had the diesel heater running in there, and they came in, put black plastic over all the windows, and everything heated up really well. We used a thermometer, checked the wall temps and everything, and it was all like 75 degrees or above, and they were able to get their product heated up nice and warm. So it's almost 40 out now, but don't have any concerns about the cold. I don't want to bug these guys too much, but I'll get some videos in there as they're spraying. Now we are talking. These guys did a great job. There's just a really nice coat of foam on everything. It is so much quieter in here. Even with the windows open, it is noticeably quieter in here. There's a few spots where the foam came out a little heavy here. They were super cool and gave me $100 off and just said, hey, you know, there's a couple spots. You'll have to trim it back, but that's easy enough. We'll let it cure and then we'll handle that later. But really, really pleased with the work here. And the little cups I did worked out pretty good. Some of them they were actually able to rip out. Looks like they cut off some of them, so I may come back, fight the rest of that out so I don't have a sharp edge. But that worked out real nice. Just having a way to keep those wires from getting permanently put in that foam. And we've got plenty of room still here where we'll be able to run wires in here. So we took the 2-inch all the way down to here, all the way down the roof and down the back. And then we did about 1 inch was our goal, but in a lot of places we got even more than that, which is great. And this is all closed cell foam. And one of the advantages of closed cell foam is the incredible amount of strength that this adds. Like, this wall flexes some now because there's, you know, an 8-foot, 10-foot section with no support, but the amount that it flexes now compared to what it was is wildly different. Now that the foam is in, we've got a few other steps here just to clean this up. There's some scraping. We'll knock down some of those high spots on the foam, make sure everything's nice and smooth. But really, we are ready to start plywood in here. So I'm gonna go buy probably a couple dozen sheets of plywood, get them in here, and we'll have to warm this thing up, which should be much easier now with our little diesel heater. And we will get the plywood acclimated to the warmer temps for a couple days before we start cutting and installing. Once it warms up, that'll be a little easier, but that'll allow us to keep moving in here. That plywood, we don't want to install it at a small size because the temperature's low, and then as temps go up, we don't want to have it buckle or cause any issues down the road. So I'd much rather get it to 65, 70 degrees in here, get the plywood acclimated to that temp, and then install at that temp, and then it will have some expansion and contraction, but it'll be minimal. So, really excited. This is a big step in the process, and now we can actually move forward with putting the inside together. So follow along if you're not already. This is about to get good. If you've been sticking it out this whole time, I really appreciate you following along up to this point, and I think this project is going to be really exciting to see come together this spring.